thank you for joining us. I'm Carol Jenkins. The program is Black America, and today we're talking about men. With us in conversation today is Kevin Powell, writer, activist, a believer in the need for a men's movement in this country to save the men and the women, especially black men and black women. And he's the author of 12 books, including his latest, The Education of Kevin Powell, A Boy's Journey into Manhood. And thank you so much, Kevin.
It's an honor to be with you. Thank you so much.
For being here.
Thank you.
We always start by asking our guests to place themselves in Black America.
Wow.
And you've written about this quite
Yeah.
extensively and wonderfully. But tell us your sources of inspiration and where you actually grew up.
I was born and raised in Jersey City, New Jersey, but one of my big sources is where you're from, the American South. My mother, my whole family are proud Geechees from South Carolina, the Low Country.
All right.
And even though I was raised in the North, in Jersey City, New Jersey, where I was born, inside it was the South. And so the work ethic I got from my mother, my spiritual belief system I got from my mother, the food, everything. And you know, and those stories, those oral histories that she shared with me, I didn't realize as a child, my mother was actually preparing me to not only be fascinated by history for the rest of my life, but also she was really the seed for me becoming a writer because the storytelling had a big impact on me. Mm-hmm. And she took me to the library when I was 8 years old, and I got a library card, and I was on my way within 3 or 4 years of like, oh, I want to be a writer. That's how it happened.
Wow,
yeah.
Just that. So she gave you that gift, and it was tough for her. She was a single mother.
Single mother with a grade school education, raising me on welfare, food stamps, government cheese, and the kind of poverty I wouldn't wish on anyone. I'm literally born on the heels of the civil rights movement. And so I'm one of the children that Dr. King was talking about, one of the children that Marvin Gaye sang about on the What's Going On album. And, you know, if it wasn't for my mother, literally a one-woman support system, I wouldn't be sitting here right now. I'm an only child, and I can only imagine, and she always talked about if she had multiple children by herself. But it was hard, you know. I look at my life now and how I've been blessed to be a speaker and a writer. And sometimes when I look at some of the payments I get, I said, man, gosh, I just made more than my mother made in a year raising me by herself. So I don't take anything for granted at all.
Yeah, but that was an emotionally scarring time as well as an inspirational time.
Well, you know, my mother, I mean, she was a young black woman. She had to deal with racism, sexism as a woman, and classism, being a poor black woman in this country. It's not like there was, you know, therapy, counseling sessions, any kind of healing circles. And so all the traumatic things that she experienced growing up in the American South, being born during the Jim Crow era, the violence that she's seen, you know, happening to the black community, and then the internal violence inside of our community, you know, that affected her, and then it eventually affected me and was passed on to me. And, you know, people will...
Some abuse?
Yeah, you know, I was going to say, people will say abuse. What I'll say is that many of us suffer from what Dr. Joy LaGrue has called post-traumatic slave syndrome. You know, just like our Jewish sisters and brothers say, never forget about the Holocaust. Well, we can't forget what slavery did to our people in this country. And it wasn't like there was some sort of mass therapy session. And so for me, when I wrote The Education of Kevin Powell, I wanted to be very honest about what happened. You know, I could have written that book without 25 years or so of counseling and therapy, but I also wanted to talk about love and forgiveness, and also be able to have a balanced view of it. Like, you know, here's the context that created me, but I'm also clear I wouldn't exist if it wasn't for people like my mother.
Right, but and you also write about the fact that this the abuse, the violence, you found that seeping into your own life in your response to women.
Yeah, women, men, everybody. I mean, my temper was vicious. It was terrible, and I didn't know what to do with it. You know, why was I angry? I was angry because I was poor. I was angry because my father had abandoned us. My mother and my father had never married, but he was around a couple times until I was 8. And the thing that's really important for people to understand is that, you know, we have a lot of damaged people in our society. When you see mass violence happening, mass shootings happening, when you see domestic violence happening, when you see any kind of form of violence happening, you know, you have to ask yourself, where did that person get that that's the solution for any kind of conflict or what we call beef in the hip hop community? And I'm very thankful for, again, years of counseling and therapy. I'm thankful that I'm an artist, a creative person, a writer. I have an outlet to express it. And also, you know, I had to learn that there was other ways of dealing without having to revert to that kind of outburst, you know. And that's part of the reason why I do the work that I do, especially not just with black men, but all kinds of men around the country, because as you know, as a woman, 1 out of 4 of you in this country are victims of some form of sexual violence, 1 out of 3 on the planet. And even our great friend Gloria Steinem, Bell Hooks, who I consider all mentors of mine, said to me, this kind of behavior will not end until we men help to make it end. So I never thought that my life work would, as an activist, would not just be racism, but it also would include, dealing with gender oppression.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, I mentioned to you that I came to one of your conversations with
Yes,
Bell
ma'am.
Hooks at
Yes,
the New
ma'am.
School.
Thank you.
Line around the block, by the way, to see you guys. You
Yeah.
know, we had to make sure that we were going to get in.
Thank you.
But a very revealing conversation. And I know that Eve has written in endorsement of your book of how revealing
Yeah.
your experiences and how it can impact other black men's other lives, period, but particularly black men.
Yeah.
We have a clip of you talking about black men. I want to play that, and
Yes,
then we'll
ma'am.
pick up the conversation.
Yes, ma'am.
Until this Trayvon Martin situation happened, did y'all ever think about being a black or Latino male and wondering if because you look a certain way or dress a certain way or in the wrong neighborhood at a certain time that this could happen to you? Did you ever think about this before this case?
Yes.
Can y'all talk about that?
I thought about it.
Nice and loud, fellas.
I think it was late last year or early last year. The whole Sean Bell case. That kind of frightened me a little bit. Kind of, the police are supposed to protect us, but somehow when they're around, you get that faint fear. Like you don't want to look suspicious or do anything to get you, like looks at you in a way. So even when they're around, like, you're supposed to be like feel safe around them, yet every time you get near them, you get a little tense. So I don't like reach in my pockets. I just look straight. I go my way.
So you're at 15, you're already thinking like that. So what does looking suspicious mean? I want all of you to answer the question, but I'm just curious. Can I ask you, what do you mean by looking suspicious?
I'm giving them eye contact overall.
So you should make eye contact
They
with
might
certain
feel
folks.
intimidated, and just might feel maybe you do have something, or if you don't, we still need to, check you out anyway.
So when where do your eyes go if you don't make eye contact?
My pocket, not my pockets, but like to the floor, or like I look up, or maybe I just pull out my phone just for the fun of it and look at it.
You never thought that pulling your phone might be considered you pulling out a weapon?
I did, but like when they're around, sometimes no. I just need some occupation, when they're around, so make me look less suspicious.
Wow.
Every time I look at those faces, and I watch
Yeah.
this video several times, they're such babies
Yeah.
and they have such weight already.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out how to stay alive just because they happen to be black
Yeah.
boys.
Yeah.
But this whole idea, you work with these kids on a regular basis all over
Yeah.
the country.
That's right. It's powerful. It's hurtful. There's a scene in my memoir, The Education of Kevin Powell, where I talk about when I was about 15. I did, boys get into fights. I got into a fight with a Puerto Rican brother, and I did not know it was going to turn into me being assaulted by a police officer with my hands behind my back, handcuffed, in the back of a police car. And it was literally my introduction. Okay, you're not a boy anymore. You're now viewed as a threat, as some sort of danger. And, for me, no child, no young person should ever feel like just because of who they are, their skin color, how they dress, how they speak, it actually doesn't even matter where they live, because Trayvon Martin, which is what these young fellows were responding to,
Sure.
was in a gated community in Florida,
Right.
And so, as much progress we've made in this country since the days of Fannie Lou Hamer and Ella Baker and Dr. King and Malcolm X and all the great sisters and brothers, known and unknown, Barack Obama being president of the United States, so many things have happened. The fact that I'm sitting here, someone, who's been able to do things my mother couldn't imagine. But until everyone is treated as a full human being and does not have to feel that if they go in certain places, if they walk in certain places, if they drive in certain places, if you're a young woman in Michigan and you happen to have your car break down and she gets murdered just because of who she is, because someone thought that she was some sort of threat. I mean, this is young men, but it's also young women,
Sure.
And so, I will fight racism for the rest of my life. I don't want to say things, as I say in the essay I wrote for Utne Reader. I don't know if it's going to end in my lifetime. I think we have a responsibility to do it in every way we can,
Right. Well, the title of that was "Will Racism Ever End, and Will I Ever Stop Being the N-Word?"
That came to me around 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I don't actually use the N-word publicly at all. I cannot. I know the history of that word, but I also listen to what my God and my ancestors say to me, and they said, Kevin, this is the title of your piece. It just came to me, and I don't want to ignore that. And as I was saying to you off camera, when I started writing, I thought about, the Lord's Prayer that my mother taught me as a child, the 23rd Psalm. I thought about Langston Hughes. I thought about Kendrick Lamar, who's considered the greatest rapper today, one of our great young poets. And I thought about how I've we have to navigate this thing called racism in media, in corporate America, in sports. As a writer, I've said to people, look, as a black male, I've written 12 books. I've written cover stories for Esquire, Rolling Stone, Vibe, all kinds of places. But I don't have a job offer waiting for me anywhere. It's like I've had to fight for everything that I've gotten, and I don't complain about it. I'm not bitter or anything like that, But, I always say, what would the case be if I happened to be a different color, given my body of work in my generation?
Well, I recommend this. It's a very painful read. It's exceptionally painful because I don't get the feeling that you're all that optimistic about.
I am. I mean, I grapple at the end where I say I have hope and that I do love all people. I really do. I really do. It's interesting. Utne Reader has said they've never gotten so many responses to a piece in their history. And I've gotten personal emails, especially from white sisters and brothers around the country, either apologizing or saying that, you have forced me to think about racism in a way I never thought about it before because of privilege, because of your race or your gender as a man. Privilege means you don't have to think about certain things. You can just be. And so I think that we have to have the conversations. I feel like we are in the tradition of folks who came before us, and I'd be, rejecting my responsibility. How can I say I love these people that are on the walls around us right now if I don't understand what they went through and I have to take the baton and go forward with this work?
Right. Yeah. Now, I want to talk about black men because you've worked in that field a lot.
Yes, ma'am.
We have a clip of you.
Yes,
let's listen to that and then pick up the conversation.
Yes, ma'am.
When we talk about what is the state of black men today,
What you think about the state of black men in America, brother?
What do I think about it?
Can I bring you to
I
that?
think I think it's a sad state, and I think it's a great state.
People keep saying, what's wrong with the younger black men? I'm like, what's wrong with all us black men?
The state of black men in America, I think, is we tend to be lost.
They don't know who they are and what their function is.
Yeah, what's wrong? So what's the state of black men today?
State of arrested development. And I love being a black man. I would not want to be anything other than a black man. But
Arrested development.
yeah, one of the things that I always talk about, we were talking about gender issues earlier. When you look at the civil rights movement, we can't ignore the fact that there was a women's rights movement, a feminist movement, as you well know, better than I do. And inside of that, you had the work of Toni Morrison, Alice Walker, Maya Angelou, Sonia Sanchez, Nikki Giovanni, Audre Lorde, an incredible body of work and an effort. I remember the first time I read Toni Cade Bambara's anthology, The Black Woman, I was just like, wow.
Right.
The problem with the black male community from the 60s going forward is that there wasn't a comparable movement to redefine manhood. Many of us, our manhood as black men is really a bootleg definition of white manhood. It's about power, it's about ego, corrupt white male manhood, white manhood, not any brothers who are white, but just those who think that manhood is power. It's violence, it's oppressing women and girls, it's disrespecting folks who might be different from us, who might be queer, It has nothing to do with peace and love for a lot of us, it has nothing to do with nonviolence. It's hyper-materialistic, it's hyper-machismo, and I think it's ultimately like a male prison. I just wrote a new piece for Utne Reader, a letter to a young man where I talk about these things. I wrote a piece for CNN.com about the need for a men's movement. I wasn't saying a men's movement to reject feminism. I'm actually saying a men's movement where we reject the definitions of manhood that we've gotten.
But you wrote that piece about the men's movement.
Yes, ma'am.
After spending, a year on a college campus trying to help the students there understand sexism, racism, violence.
It's tough because most of us men, including black males, white males, Latino males, Asian males, no matter what we are, we've been grossly miseducated. One of the things that I do when I do these sessions with younger men and older men, name me 10 women in American history of all different backgrounds. They always get stuck. They'll say Betsy Ross. They'll say Helen
Betsy
Keller.
Ross.
Yes.
I was shocked when I heard.
Yeah.
When I read that. That's going back. What did she create? She did the flag.
She
right?
did the flag. They'll say Rosa Parks. Now
Rosa Parks.
they'll say Hillary Clinton now, of
Right.
course. They'll probably say Michelle Obama. They'll say Rosa Parks. And they can't really say anyone else. And I said, then I'll say, give me some attributes of what a leader is. And they'll go through a whole list of things. And I'll say, well, guess what? You just defined my mother. Or they'll say, actually, I said, tell me what a man is.
Right.
They'll say accountable, responsible, da-da-da. I said,
Yeah.
that's my mother. And so what you begin to realize, most of us have no clue what manhood is other than the definitions we've been given. And one of the things I describe in that essay and in my memoir is like, look where this can lead you to. Look at the situation with this young man at Stanford University, who raped that young woman behind a dumpster and then, ran off until two dudes caught him, thinking that, and then his father justifying it, saying he should not be penalized for 20 minutes of action. This is the destructive mentality that a lot of us have. And a lot of folks think that violence against women and girls is just physical. It's spiritual, it's emotional, it's financial, it's in every form possible. I always say, if you don't review women and girls as your equals, as your equals, as your equals, then you really have a definition of manhood that's not rooted in humanity at all. You become an oppressor.
So how do you fix that? I know you're working with young men.
Yeah.
These 15-year-old baby-faced. But what happens to a man, 30, 40, 50, 60? Any chance of...
You challenge everyone. You challenge them. We have a monthly workshop here in New York City, actually. It goes back and forth between Harlem and Brooklyn. These are specifically for black males, but I do work in all different types of communities. And so we ask questions, well, what is a man? What does that mean to you? Where did you get this definition from? Why is violence okay? Why is it okay to talk in a certain kind of manner? Why do you think it's okay to touch a woman in a certain kind of way without any permission whatsoever? Why is it okay to catcall her on the street? And I say to men and boys all the time, no matter who they are, even if you're not the kind of man or boy who would ever do any of those things to a woman or girl, God forbid, rape her, murder her, but you have men in your fraternity, in your religious institution, in any space whatsoever, and you say nothing about it, then we become just as guilty. What I learned, because my education, honestly, until I was in my 20s and then engaged in destructive behavior myself, it was all from a male perspective. When I first started reading Bell and Eve and Gloria Steinem and Pearl Cleage and these folks, I was terrified. I was like, because I realized...
Now they're the main influences in your life as inspiration.
Because how can you live on the planet and not know anything about half the world's population, not even bother to listen to their voices?
Now, the participants in your groups, do they come voluntarily, or
They
have
come
they
voluntarily.
been recommended because of
Both.
bad behavior?
Both,
Both?
and there's resistance to this kind of conversation, I can
Right.
tell you that.
Right.
Because no privileged group wants to be challenged on their privilege. No one wants to be told you may be engaging in behavior that is oppressive, It's like an internal hurricane that has to go on where you have to rethink everything that you've been taught. As I've been getting the emails from the Udney Reader piece about racism, white sisters and brothers have said to me, I've had to rethink every aspect of my life. Most of the emails I've gotten have actually been from white sisters and brothers in their 60s and 70s saying, even who had lived through the civil rights movement,
Sure.
I never thought about race like this.
Right. And certainly now that we have a woman who's gotten the Democratic nomination,
This is Hillary Clinton.
we've never had a woman
That's right.
in that role. So it's a lot of conversation and a lot of reevaluating what women can or cannot do.
And whether you love Hillary or not, First Lady, Secretary of State, United States Senator, can people really name someone that's more qualified, out of the candidates this year, 2012? Seriously. But it's sexism. It's sexism that judges her hair, judges the way she dresses. She's too old. Well, Bernie Sanders is older than her. Trump is older than her.
So interesting. They just put a dollar figure on her wardrobe,
which is insanity.
Recently, one of the recent accounts. But I want to go back to talking about the male influence. So we always talk about role models, and we've just recently lost Muhammad Ali, and I know that you've written about that what he meant. Tell us a little bit about that.
I wrote a piece when he passed for ESPN.com, the news site, The Undefeated, called
The Undefeated, right?
Yeah.
Kevin Merida, right? Great.
Called Me and Muhammad Ali. My mom and I, grown up, with our black and white TV in the late 70s, into the 80s, and I can't tell you how honored I am to be here because we would watch you on TV. So thank you. We watched Ali together. People need to understand we were starving for black images. And so when we saw Ali on TV, a Carol Jenkins on TV, when we watched Roots together, it meant something for us because people like him, like you, were actually filling a void that I wasn't getting in the school system, to be honest about it. I didn't learn anything about black history and black achievement. So you were looking for it. And then the fact that he spoke the way he did, and I had never seen a black man like that, I thought he was some sort of creation,
Right.
I didn't realize he was a real person. Years later, when I started studying him, once I got to college, I was like, man, his stand against Vietnam.
His refusal to fight out of the boxing ring.
Exactly.
He was a boxer, but he would not fight otherwise.
That's right.
And that was not very male.
No, it was profound in so many different ways because he's saying that I'm not going to go and and be violent towards people because you tell me to be violent. That was a profound statement, you know. And I hope that the black male athletes who've paid homage to him since he died realize that, you know, people like him paved the way for them to make these millions of dollars, and they have a responsibility, no matter what sport they're in, to say something, to do something. It can't just be about you and your salary and your endorsements. Ali, as we know, sacrificed everything. I mean, 3.5 years of his prime time, lost to boxing. That told me that my voice matters, that you know, for the rest of my life, I have a responsibility to challenge injustice no matter what.
And you've written about Prince.
Yeah.
And I love that slight moment, you know, sort of an aside, you know, that he had asked you to write his biography, and you were, you know, going through too many other things. I mean, did you ever think back and say...
His lawyer did.
Yeah.
What I think about is that moment when I met him. I was doing a cover story on Dave Chappelle, the great comedian, for Esquire. And here I was at a Prince after party, a Prince post-Grammy after party in LA. And he's standing next to me, and I felt the energy. And I was like, and I look around, and it's Prince, and I'm stunned. And he says, Kevin Powell, writer, right? And the fact that he knew who I was, and I would learn later that Prince was a voracious reader. He paid attention. He was watching the news all the time. And by the time I got the courage to turn around and say something, he had disappeared, which was his whole thing. He would just kind of be there and then gone. And I think about that because I mean, this man played 30 instruments. This man, you know, was a prodigy as a young person.
But he also was not the typical, quote, male, you know, to put him in that category.
He blurred a lot of lines.
Yeah, in the piece you talk about that, you know, that he made you adjust to difference in.
I mean, I saw a quote today before I came here saying that, you know, because there's Prince folks who are going to celebrate him forever. They said, you know, Prince wore your woman's clothes so he could attract women to him. I mean, he blurred gender lines. He blurred racial lines.
I never thought about it that way. But
Prince, I mean, but women love. I've been at shows where folks threw their clothes at him. I said, man, this man, I don't know what he has, but he has something, you know. And that may have been to get people's attention, especially when he was younger, you know, but underneath
he had such a real generosity of spirit. All of the philanthropy we found out about after he died, that he was truly a giving, generous,
supporting
kind man.
So many organizations, nonprofit organizations, you know, showing up and doing the benefit for Baltimore, creating a song about Baltimore after what happened there. 39 albums in about 40 years. I mean, prolific in so many different ways, a true artist, you know, someone who you can see inside of Prince, Little Richard, Sly Stone, the Isley Brothers, I mean, so many, James Brown. I mean, and he always talked about how he had to pay homage to the folks who came before us, and to the end. You know, he mentored young musicians like Esperanza Spalding, Kendrick Lamar, Janelle Monáe. I mean, he really was the embodiment. He was like a one-person Black Power movement.
Right, he was. I like that. But are there any other black men that you know, that you put in that role?
Wow. Well, Malcolm X is my hero.
Yes.
Dr. King's my hero. And, you know, Malcolm, because when I first read his autobiography at 18 years of age, as I talk about my memoir, it blew my mind. I didn't know he existed. I just didn't know, you know, and when I got to the end of the book and realized he was assassinated, I cried. I just cried. And, you know, when I got older, I started appreciating Dr. King in a very different kind of way, because unfortunately the way we're educated is Montgomery bus boycott, I Have a Dream speech, and then he's assassinated. And when I started studying what happened between I Have a Dream speech and him getting assassinated, I said, man, this man was profound. His evolution, his challenging injustice. He could have done anything he wanted with his life.
Any role models today living?
Living. Wow.
That you think of? I mean, because that's so I know we've sort of moved away from the this is our leader category. We're not talking about that anymore. But
they're not famous people, but there are men that I love. Dr. William Howard, pastor of Bethany Baptist Church in Newark, New Jersey. Dr. Jerry Ward, a great literary scholar out of Mississippi. There's folks of my generation, Charlie Braxton, Mississippi, Davy D. and Cheo Timber on the West Coast, Lasana Hotep on the West Coast, Mayor Rasparak, a son of a Mary Baraka in Newark, New Jersey. There are dynamic black men out there doing important work, you know, and I honor them, I salute them. Quentin Walcott, who's here in New York with an organization called Connect NYC, who does amazing work around redefining manhood and showing men who have been both batterers and have not battered, you know, how they should relate to women and girls. And so there have been doing the work, and I think it's important to say their names over and over again. Right.
Yeah. But so your lesson, your direction to all of us, if we want to sort of get at this issue of of black male violence or male violence. I don't want to
Right.
exist everywhere,
Right,
of course.
right.
You know, but what?
For black males specifically? Well, brothers, what I say to black men, we've got to read, we've got to study, we've got to travel. We've got to be open to looking in the mirror. You know, it's not comfortable, it's not easy, you know, but we have no choice. We got to be open to reinventing ourselves.
Yeah, because you see, you are bringing up the issue of perhaps some of what is happening to you is your fault. You know, I mean, where the major conversation in the media, et cetera, is that they're being discriminated against, and it's
Oh, it's
racism,
both.
and
I want to make it clear.
Well, of course.
Yeah. It's systemic racism. So what I say is that our challenge is on 3 levels, to answer your question. Systemic racism is alive and well, and we should never have the fear of challenging it. Muhammad Ali did it. Prince did it in his own way. We talked about ownership of his music, his art form. Always challenge racism, always, in some form or fashion. The second level is the internal stuff we have to do within the community. You know, we as black men do need to challenge each other, hold each other accountable. Where's our standards of excellence? You know, why is it okay to disrespect and violate each other, to shoot each other in different forms, not just physically? Why is it okay for us to disrespect women and girls? Respect women and girls as our equals. Sisters are our equals, are our equals, are our equals. And then that third level that we don't like to talk about, are you willing to go inside and do the emotional and spiritual work that a lot of us don't do? Many of us are damaged, you know. Some folks ask me, well, Kevin, how could you write your memoir the way you did? I said, you know what? I hope that my mistakes, the things that I went through, all the pain and angst that I went through, people can understand that you don't have to be stuck there. You know what I mean? You don't have to be this way for the rest of your life. I am by no stretch of the imagination a perfect human being, but every single day when I wake up now, I thank my God and I say, what can I do to serve all of humanity, and what can I do to be a better person?
We always close by asking our guests to finish the sentence. The power, the strength of Black America lies in
love. Love.
just that simple and that.
Yeah, love and self-love.
And self-love.
Yes, ma'am.
I like adding that piece to it.
Yes, ma'am.
I thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so
are,
much.
You know, so wonderful and deserve all of the attention and following that you have, and deep respect to you, sir.
It's an honor. Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And we want to thank you all for being with us today, too. I'm Carol Jenkins. The program is Black America, and we'll see you the next time.